Okay. Good morning, everyone. I would like to go and call the Commission on Ethics meeting to order. At this time, we will do roll call. Chair Wallen here, Vice Chair Dufferin,
Here.
Commissioner Lowry,
Present.
Commissioner Oscarson,
I'm here.
Commissioner Towler,
Here.
Commissioner Sheets. Please mark him as absent. Commissioner Greenwald, she is excused, she is traveling, and Commissioner Yen, she is traveling as well, and please mark her as excused. For staff, we have Commission Counsel Chase here, Executive Director Armstrong, Associate Counsel Bassett, Senior Legal Researcher Hayden,
Here.
Executive Assistant Pedrosa. Here. All right. This time we will do the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Thank you. At this time, we are at item 2 for public comment. I would like to ask the Executive Director if there are any members of the public here who wish to do public comment.
This is Executive Director Armstrong. We have one member of the public here. I do not see her approaching for public comment. We've received no prior written public comment before the meeting.
And Executive Assistant Pedrosa, are there any members of the public on Zoom wishing to comment?
We do have one member of the public on Zoom who has not indicated that she would like to make public comment at this time.
Thank you. Next item is approval of the August 17th, 2022 Commission minutes. All commissioners were present at the August meeting, so all may participate and approve the minutes. I'd like to call the item and ask the commissioners if there are any additions or corrections to the minutes. All right, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes as read.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item is item 4, discussion and approval of a proposed stipulation in ethics complaint case numbers 19-088C and 22-026C. Ramos, former Public Works Director, currently County Manager of Lander County. At this time, I will turn this over to Vice Chair Dufferin, who will be the presiding officer in this case.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Please. So on the, we have 2 cases here, and there we have a consolidated proposal before us. Proper notice has been provided and waivers have been received for both identified ethics cases. For case number 19-088C, there was a review panel consisting of Chair Wallen and Commissioners Oscarson and Sheets. Therefore, these commissioners are precluded from participating or voting on that particular case. And then we have there was no review panel for the other case, 22-026C, so all commissioners may participate and vote on that particular case. But I have counsel for both parties. Ms. Brew, would you identify yourself and your client for the record, please? There's a little button in front. If you press it.
Oh, thanks. Sorry. Rebecca Brew, Lemons-Grundy Eisenberg, attorney for Bert Ramos in the 19-088C case.
Thank you. Is your client with us today?
I don't know. He said he was going to be joining by Zoom, so I don't know how to tell if he's there or not.
That's okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I am present.
Oh, there he is.
Great. Thank you. Then we have Mr. Hardy.
Correct.
Can you identify yourself for the record and also your client as well?
Absolutely. Brian Hardy with the law firm of Marquis Arbach on behalf of Bert Ramos.
And then on our commission side, Ms. Bassett.
Oh. Elizabeth Bassett, Associate Counsel for the Executive Director.
Okay, I'd like to start with you, Ms. Bassett. If you could give us an overview of the proposed stipulation as it applies to both cases, please.
Thank you. The proposed stipulated agreement before the commission today recommends terms of settlement for ethics complaints numbers 19-088C and 22-026C concerning Bartolo Ramos, the former Public Works Director and the current County Manager for Lander County. The complaint in matter number 19-088C alleged that Mr. Ramos used his position as Public Works Director to direct county contracts to a company owned by his sister and her domestic partner. The commission directed the executive director to investigate alleged violations of NRS 281A 400 subsections 1, 2, 3, 4, and 7, and NRS 281 420 subsections 1 and 3, as well as 281A 430. As you noted, a review panel determined that just and sufficient cause existed for the commission to render an opinion regarding those same allegations, and the parties eventually both filed motions for summary judgment, as you'll remember. The commission granted the executive director's motion in part, finding that Mr. Ramos violated or committed 12 violations of NRS 281.420 subsection 1 and 1 violation of NRS 281A 400 subsection 3. Where we are at procedurally is that the commission has not yet determined whether these violations should be classified as willful or non-willful, nor has the commission had the opportunity to address Mr. Ramos's alleged violations of NRS 281A.400 subsections 1 and 2 or NRS 281A 420 subsection 3. The complaint in matter number 22-026C alleged that Mr. Ramos benefited his spouse's nonprofit employer through the lease of county property to a nonprofit without a proper disclosure or abstention. The commission directed the executive director to investigate these alleged violations of NRS 281 400 subsections 1, 2, and 7 and 281A.420 subsections 1 and 3. This matter has not yet been presented to a review panel, is where that matter is procedurally. The terms of the stipulated agreement are as follows. In case number 19-088C, the alleged outstanding violations that the commission has not yet addressed would be dismissed. One willful violation would be imposed for Mr. Ramos's violation of NRS 281A.403 based on his conduct in participating as an agent of the government in negotiating a contract. One willful violation of NRS 281A.421 would be imposed for his conduct in failing to properly disclose his commitment in a private capacity. Mr. Ramos agrees to pay the sum of $2,500 for each of those willful violations for a total fine of $5,000. The remaining 11 violations of NRS 281A.421 would be determined to be non-willful violations based on the following mitigating factors that the executive director and Mr. Ramos have agreed to. That Mr. Ramos did not have any prior ethics cases before the filing of the first of these matters. That the resolution of the remainder of this matter by stipulation will save the commission additional resources and costs. That Mr. Ramos did not personally receive any financial benefit from his conduct, and that Lander County has had no complaint regarding the services of his sister's company and that it received from his sister's company. That Lander County and the district attorney's office are not now aware of the conflict and have taken affirmative steps to mitigate it. That Mr. Ramos has been removed from all associated decisions relating to his sister's company, and the separation has been maintained since it was instituted in 2019. That Mr. Ramos will appraise himself of the requirements of the ethics law, and that he has agreed to participate in in-person training about the requirements of the ethics law with the executive director, and will assure that other Lander County public officers will also attend that training. As to case number 22-026, the agreement provides that that case will be held in abeyance until Mr. Ramos completes through all the requirements of the stipulated agreement, at which time that case will be voluntarily dismissed with prejudice. Given the information we obtained in the investigation of 19-088C and so far in 22-026C, and the mitigating factors that we've discussed. The executive director and I believe that the terms of the stipulated agreement are appropriate. We would like to thank Mr. Ramos, both his counsel, Ms. Brew, and Mr. Hardy for their cooperation and patience in the investigation and resolution of these matters. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ms. Bassett. But before we take any questions, I wanted to just make sure that, Ms. Brew, did you want to add anything to that? Great, thank you. And Mr. Hardy, did you want to add anything to that presentation?
No, I think it was well done. We appreciate, as always, the time of the commission and the efforts of those that have been engaged in this process. It has been a fully negotiated process that is both sides of which have been very professional. It's been great working with them. Appreciate it as always.
Great, thank you. At this point, I'm ready for some questions or comments from any commissioners, if there are any. Seeing none or hearing none, I'm ready for a motion. And I actually, since we did have a review panel on one, I'm going to take a motion on case number 19-088C first, and the only commissioners that are allowed to participate on that particular case are myself, Commissioner Lowry, and Commissioner Towler. So if either one of you commissioners would like to make a motion, I'm ready for that on that case. Commissioner Lowry.
I would make a motion in case number 19-088C. I would move to accept the terms of the stipulated agreement as presented by the parties to resolve case number 19-088C and direct commission counsel to finalize it in appropriate form.
Thank you, Commissioner Lowry. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Towler. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I hear none. The motion carries unanimously on that particular case. The next case is a 22-026C. All commissioners may participate. I am ready for a motion on that case.
I will go ahead and make that motion. I move to approve the proposed stipulation for subject Ramos as it applies to resolve case number 22-026C and authorize commission counsel to finalize the legal form of the stipulation and other matters relating thereto.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Commissioner Lowry. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, item carries unanimously. The vote is unanimous, and that concludes that particular item. Thank you, all parties involved. I appreciate all the work that was done in this. This has been a lot of work on both sides, and I thank you very much. That concludes that item.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. I'm going to turn the hammer back to the chair. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vice Chair Dufferin. Next item is item number 5, discussion and approval of proposed stipulation and ethics complaint case number -22055C, Coverly, Sheriff, Douglas County, Nevada. I want to go and call the item, and I want to indicate for the record that proper notice has been provided and waivers have been received from Mr. Coverly, including Mr. Coverly's waiver of his right to a review panel, which means all commissioners may participate in this matter. At this time, I want to ask Associate Counsel to identify herself and all parties, including the subject.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For the record, this is Elizabeth Bassett, Associate Counsel for the Commission on behalf of the Executive Director, and I believe Mr. Coverly should himself be on the. Okay, he's present. The proposed stipulated agreement before you today recommends terms of settlement for ethics complaint number 22-055C concerning Daniel Coverly, Douglas County Sheriff. The complaint in matter number 22-055C alleged that Sheriff Coverly used the accoutrements of his office, particularly his uniform, to benefit his significant personal interest in support of a political campaign. The commission directed the executive director to investigate Sheriff Coverly's alleged violation of NRS 281A.400 subsection 7. In his written response to the complaint's allegations, Sheriff Coverly took full responsibility for his actions and admitted that he did not review the ethics statute prior to wearing his uniform to a political endorsement event. He agreed that he is prohibited from doing so pursuant to NRS 281A.400 subsection 7. Sheriff Coverly has since engaged the commission staff with questions about the ethics law and campaigning to ensure compliance with the ethics law in the future. Sheriff Coverly waived his right to a review panel and instead agreed to enter into this proposed stipulated agreement. The proposed terms of this agreement are as follows. Sheriff Coverly's actions constitute one violation of NRS 281A.400 subsection 7. That violation will be deemed a non-willful violation and a penalty is not deemed appropriate on the basis that the sheriff has not previously been the subject of any violation of the ethics law or previous ethics complaints. He was not a member of the Sheriffs and Chiefs Association when the previous letter was sent from the commission to that association on the topic of uniform and campaigns. The sheriff was diligent to cooperate with and participate in the commission's investigation and resolution of this matter. Because he was willing to resolve the matter prior to a review panel determination, very minimal costs were incurred for the commission proceedings. In his response, the sheriff pledged to not wear his uniform for endorsement or other campaign events. And since his response, the commission has not received nor found any evidence to the contrary. The sheriff responded immediately to the allegations, acknowledging that his conduct in wearing his uniform to a political endorsement event was in violation of the ethics law, and that after review of the statute, he understands what is required. Sheriff Coverly agrees to schedule ethics law training with the executive director for the Douglas County Sheriff's Office within 120 days of the approval of this agreement. Given the information obtained in the investigation of this matter and the mitigating factors discussed, and Sheriff Coverly's willingness to engage with us so immediately and fully, the executive director and I believe that the terms of the stipulated agreement are appropriate. We'd like to thank Sheriff Coverly for his cooperation in this matter, as well as his willingness to engage with the commission and to understand his obligations under the ethics law. Again, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Coverly, who I believe you're representing yourself, whether you have anything to add to Associate Counsel's presentation. And, oh good, you are on camera now. Thank you so much. I was going to ask if you have video, please turn it on. So thank you. So please proceed, Mr. Coverly.
I appreciate the patience with the commission, and they were a pleasure to work with. I apologize for my mistake, and promise that moving forward, if I'm unsure, I have a resource to reach out and clarify things, and I think that these matters are important. And again, I apologize for screwing up.
Thank you, Mr. Coverly, for your comments. Fellow commissioners, any questions for Associate Counsel Bassett or for Mr. Coverly?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I just wanted to thank staff and thank the sheriff for owning up to what happened and cooperating with staff. And that was a huge mitigating factor in this case. And I really appreciate you working together with staff and resolving this issue. So thank you very much, Sheriff.
Yes, I echo those comments as well. Any other comments from my commissioners? All right. Not seeing any, I will call for a motion in the matter of 22055C.
Madam Chair, I would like to make that motion. I move to approve the proposed stipulation for complaint case number 22-055C for Sheriff Coverly and authorize commission counsel to finalize the legal form of the stipulation and other matters relating thereto.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All right. We got a lot of seconds. All right. We'll do Commissioner Towler there for a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. All right. Again, Sheriff, thank you so much for your cooperation and working with our staff to resolve this, and we really do appreciate your cooperation in this matter and understanding. I know the ethics law is complex, and I know you're going to do your part so everybody knows what it's about. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, item 6, Executive Director's Agency Status Report. At this time, I'd like to call on our Executive Director Armstrong to make a presentation.
Thank you. This is Executive Director Armstrong. Before proceeding into the report, I will make a disclosure that you'll see in the budget update section, our requested budget enhancements, and one is for competitive salaries. That is for all staff salaries, which would include myself, so I have a pecuniary interest in that matter. The legislature and the governor will have the final decision on any of those, and so this commission does not, but I wanted to make that disclosure of my interest in that particular budget enhancement request.
Commission Counsel Chase would like to make a comment as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also want to make a disclosure on that item because I am commission staff and I am employed by this commission, and any enhancements could affect my salary as well. However, it is this commission's determination whether to pursue enhancements or not. I do not have any independent authority to do so. In addition, I've already provided a notice of my retirement, so it's unlikely the matter will affect me, but you never know. So I want to make a disclosure and let the commission know I will be abstaining on any matters that relate to my salary for my position.
Thank you.
Thank you. So to start the report, we'll start with education and outreach. I said I'd provide our social media audience about quarterly to the commission, and so you can see we continue to have growth in both LinkedIn and Twitter, which are the 2 social media platforms we use since the last update. One of the things we've been doing is highlighting advisory opinions, right? They don't come before a public meeting, and so they're not usually highlighted in press releases or those types of outreach. But there's really good guidance for public officers and employees in those. And so try to find, interesting and relevant advisory opinions and making sure we link to those in some of our social media efforts. During the month of September, we're focusing on campaign practices as the campaign for election kind of gets into full gear traditionally after Labor Day. In October, we'll be able to share a lot of data from our annual report to engage folks in that annual report process so they understand what we do. And then in November, we'll have a whole bunch of newly elected officials, and so we'll really focus on some ethics basics for those folks in elected positions. So that's kind of the outlook. In terms of the social media outreach and education, on page 2 of the report, you can see the trainings that we have either scheduled or completed. So recently we did speak to the Southern Nevada chapter of International Code Council, which is a bunch of, it's essentially folks who go and inspect and enforce building codes. And so that was a great group because if they are making unethical decisions, that can be real life or death out there. So it was great to have them. I guess they try to invite us every year and we're receptive to the training. So that was wonderful. And then the Nevada Civil Attorneys Conference was last week. It's basically a bunch of government attorneys that represent different agencies. I was out of commission for that particular training, and so I was able to watch from home. Liz stepped in. There were a little over 200 public attorneys that attended that conference and watched Liz's presentation. We have upcoming trainings, including at the Gaming Control Board, some public relations professionals of the UNLV class on Monday that I'm presenting to, and then Pool Pact. Becky, Ms. Brew, who was here earlier, asked that we come present to Pool Pact since they have to represent people when they get into ethics trouble. So hopefully a good prevention education there. And then our online learning system, we're working with the Administrative Services Division to initiate that contract. If you recall, the same day as our last commission meeting, we got IFC approval for the funding, and now we just have to go through the actual contracting part to get that up and running. And then the other part is the budget update. So 4 enhancement units have been submitted to the Administrative Services Division for consideration. That includes the Public Information Officer, 1 related to competitive salaries, 1 for contract investigation resources, and then a travel restoration. The way that the budgets were built is that we received enough travel funds for what we received during a pandemic year, which is not enough to go forward. And so we created that. We had talked about an enhancement unit for improved internet, and the Administrative Services Division said to do that through a work program this year to establish the authority early, so it doesn't have to be an enhancement unit next time. So we'll be taking a look at that. The items with the asterisk have been moved to items for special consideration. So we have a limit on the number of stuff we can ask for in our basic enhancements. And so those two have been in that items for special consideration for the governor's office to take a look at. So that it should mean that the public information officer and the competitive salaries have the most likely chance to move forward. And then we'll take a look at the other ones. We'll kind of get a closer look by the governor's office.
Madam Chair and Ross, I had a question for you, if I may. The competitive salaries, the amount that's in front of us is a very tiny dollar amount in my mind. So is that dollar amount spread throughout the entire staff? Or is that per position? Because I have not seen any details on that yet.
The amount there is for the entire staff. So spread out over those positions, and I can provide a position by position printout to the commission after this meeting. I can send that out so you know how much it is for each position.
Yeah, I think that would be helpful as we move forward with the legislature and our budget. But just so we kind of have I think it just paints a picture that shows that we're really not asking for a lot. So that was my only comment on that. So thank you.
And I have one other question. So it starts out in 2024, the increase is 60,803, and then it drops to 60,070. So is someone going to take a pay cut?
Yeah, I will have to look at why that number over the second year is less. I don't know. I will get an answer from ASD about why it's technically that less. I don't think it is. I think it's because some of that is worked into the base budget that isn't technical, part of an enhancement. But I can figure out why that appears differently. We tried to actually have it so that the increases were spread kind of staggered over the 2 fiscal years, but they indicated that was not that they couldn't do that. So.
Thank you for getting back to us on that. Okay. Go ahead and you can proceed if you want.
Yeah, the one thing I will note too, before moving from the budget, is that that's the total cost ask. As you know, our budget is made up of general fund and locals, and so as we get a clear picture of what the governor's recommended budget is, we'll engage the locals. But for things, especially like the public information officer, they're going to be there mostly to serve the locals, and so I think that as we get out there and do more training, they're seeing the value in that. But that also just reduces that general fund ask overall. The next item as part of the executive director's report is the quarterly case log, which all the commissioners received as part of the packet. There's a redacted version in the public materials. And as you can see, in terms of processing through older, what some might consider stale cases, all cases from fiscal year 2019 are wrapped up. We've got one that from 2020, we will anticipate wrapping up next month, and then all the 2020 cases will be wrapped up. Most of 2021 is all wrapped up, and so we're really caught up in terms of the cases that are active and have active things going on are from fiscal year 2022 or this current fiscal year. And so we continue to process cases in a timely manner, and I appreciate the commissioner's work in responding to those jurisdictional items and sitting on review panels and keeping that progress going forward. So I'm happy to answer if there's any questions on the quarterly case log. I'm happy to answer them, but overall I think it shows we're in a good position in terms of where we are in keeping cases moving.
Fellow commissioners, questions, comments on the executive director's agency status report? No? Seeing none?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Oscarson.
Always thorough and complete. Mr. Armstrong does a great job with that report, I think, and certainly appreciate, again, the information that makes our job that much easier. So thank you, Madam Chair, to Commissioner Armstrong. Or
Thank
to
you.
Executive Director Armstrong, sorry.
All right. Seeing no further comments, I will entertain a motion to approve the Executive Director's agency status report as presented.
I will make that motion since nobody else is stepping up. I would move to approve the report on the agency status and as presented and discussed, and also want to give my thanks as well to the executive director. That's my motion.
Is
I'll
there a
second,
second?
Madam Chair.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? All right. Motion carries. Thank you so much.
And then, Madam Chair, the last item on that agenda item is the branding
Yes.
project.
Mhm.
So if you're ready, I'll proceed with that.
Yeah, we can move on to that. That was actually item 8, but we can,
Oh,
we're doing annual report next and then branding on my list. But that's okay. Let's do annual report and then we'll do branding.
okay.
All right. So since you started it, I will ask you to make a presentation of the annual report.
All right, at the last commission meeting, we had a rough draft of the annual report, and we took the feedback from the commissioners and incorporated it into the report and made this final draft for consideration by the commission. And so I will point to the first kind of item that we were hoping to have discussion and some feedback today, which would be on page 11 of the report. There are currently 5 goals for state fiscal year 2023. And so we're looking for direction on, which of those to keep. Do we want to change any of those? What should be the adopted goals for the commission for the coming fiscal year? And you can see they're on the bottom of page 11, they're highlighted.
Right. Fellow commissioners, comments on the goals as they're read.
Commissioner Lowry?
Yes, Commissioner Lowry.
Mr. Executive Director, great job. Well done. I don't have anything to add or to change other than to say, great job.
Thank you.
Any other commissioners' comments on the goals? Yes, Commissioner Towler.
Yeah, just, the report, but specifically the goals, I think that's really an improvement and really a good set of goals to strive for. So I think just another, kudos for that.
Any other comments?
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner
Oh, I see.
Oscarson.
Vice Chair Duffin, he was the one who we wanted to really refine these. That was one of his comments, I think, at the last meeting. So I just want to make sure he had satisfied what his request was, and it looks like it did. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Oscarson. Yeah, I didn't necessarily want to refine them, but I just wanted to make sure that they were presented before the commission, since they are our goals and staff's goals as a group in total. So I just want to make sure that we were all comfortable with those. And I am personally comfortable with those. I think they're probably going to be, with exception to the ethics brand number 1, we're always going to want to do number 4, process cases in a timely manner and without creating a new case backlog. That's something that we always want to do anyway, but I think it's important that it's in this report. The only other comment I have is in reviewing prior reports. We have a listing of staff, and we didn't have that in this report. And I think since this is a historical document, I think it's important that we list the staff members. We do list the commission members, but I think it's from my perspective, having the staff included in here as well would be beneficial as a historical document. And that's shows up on page 5. I don't know how much room we have to stick it in there, but I would like to see that on this report as well. Those are my only comments and requested change. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yes, this report, I think that it is a great report. We've knocked down like another 20 pages off of it. I mean, down from I don't know how many. Yeah, oh, yes, we down to 29 pages last year, but down to 23. So we're making progress, but I think that this report, it's easy to read, okay? It's something that I think people can read it. It doesn't have a lot of verbiage in it, it has a lot of pictures. Just a couple observations. I'm fine with the goals because I already sent you my comments and you incorporated them. Would it be possible when we have the appendixes with the cases and the opinions, if we could put them into, instead of the number order, or I don't know how they're in the order, maybe as they came in or whatever, but as to what it was, like we have the stipulated agreement, deferral, stipulated non-welfare, and same for the advisory opinions. So that way, if somebody's looking at this document, they could say, oh, okay, here's this many of the cooling off advisory opinions, and you can just go to them instead of looking down the thing. I just think it would be kind of more readable and useful for people, if that would be possible.
So I think you're on Appendix C.
Mhm.
Are you talking about, currently they're sorted by date published, but
Yes,
instead sort them by main topic?
yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we can do that.
Yes, because I think that, for the advisory opinions and the cases, I think that that's a lot more, those appendixes, you've got Appendix C or Appendix A, and then we've got Appendix B, and then we've got Appendix C, the advisory opinions. So yeah, I think that would be a lot more useful to the reader. Just a couple of comments on the graphs. Like under the advisory opinions requested, we talk about they're trending up after a dip in requests during the COVID pandemic. Why don't we put what percentage increase? So I think percentages tell a better story, and that will help in our social outreach. And the same going through the document with the other things. And when we talk about the average number of advisory opinions requested for the 5 years prior to FY19 was 13. That to me is like saying we only had 13, that was it. It's so maybe 13 per year might be a better way to do that. Let me see, hang on here. And like I said, put the percentage in ethic complaints received, and same for was 61 per year. Incoming cases. And I want to just say that on your chart number figure 6, I love that chart. I mean, it really shows what happened to the cases. I really like that, appreciate that. And let's see, I think those are my comments. And let's see, do we put in? Oh, one more thing, since I noticed that you have July, your LinkedIn followers and Twitter followers, it goes to June 1st, 2022. Could we put July 1st in there? Because you do have that information because it's for the whole year, just that comment there. And good, I'm glad you put the penalties in there. I'm glad we have that. And that's all my comments, but very well done, very well done. I really appreciate it. And I really like the fact that it's written in English. So thank you so much. I know the commission staff knows that that's something that I harp on every single year. So we've made great progress. So thank you so much on your first attempt at this report.
Thank you.
All right, at this point, I will entertain a motion to approve the report, the annual report, with the corrections that we mentioned at this time. Is there a motion?
Commissioner Lowry, I would make a motion to approve the annual report with the aforementioned recommendations for change.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair, and I echo the comments of everyone. Great job, Russ. It's just a fine document, and appreciate all the work doing it. I read a lot of these, used to read a lot of these. It's one of the nicest ones I've ever looked at, so thank you.
All right. At this time, I'll entertain a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. And I want to also thank Executive Assistant Pedroza for her help in all these graphs and charts and helping in this project. So, and I don't know if there's other staff that helped, but I'm pretty sure there was, and I want to thank them as well. But I just want to also thank Ms. Pedroza for her assistance.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
may I just add, I did talk to Ms. Pedroza yesterday, and we were talking about this report a little bit. And she said it was truly a team effort. Everybody in the office contributed to what went into that report, and that's the best way to do things. So I think that's great.
Right, thank you. All right, now we will go on to item number 8, which is discussion of the ongoing commission branding project, including review of the fact-finding survey and possible direction to the executive director on branding and logo design development. This time, Executive Director Armstrong, please proceed.
Thank you, Chair. In your packet, there is a brief memo on the brand development materials. As you know, we did some fact finding and surveyed staff and the commission and asked them some questions about the commission's brand identity and try to get see if we get some consensus on values and some of the things we want to think about when we go through this branding process. And I think everyone had some homework before this meeting to take a look at those things. So in the packet, you'll see some of the survey results. On page 2, you'll see words associated with commission values. These are word clouds, and so the words that are largest means that in the survey results, those showed up the most. And so you can see in terms of our values, the values of integrity and honesty, impartiality, fairness, transparency, and government decision all rose to the top. So we saw those results in a lot of what people said the commission values are. I think those align with our 10 guiding principles and our mission statement. So that was not a surprise to see those come to the forefront. But we asked what people currently think, and the big one there is commission and ethics violation. So people clearly think about that function of the ethics, which makes sense. That's what's in the press the most. That's what I think most people understand is that violation process. We've asked what people we want them to think. Again, integrity rose to the top, including trust and transparency in services. And then in thinking about an actual logo, which is part of the brand, asked about what imagery came to the forefront, and justice, sun, light, scale, which in a lot of ways was like scales of justice. That phrase was there a lot. And then a hand rose to the top. So that is helpful in terms of going forward and thinking about what imagery we might use for a logo. Obviously, integrity is a word that keeps surfacing up a lot. And so as a core kind of pillar of our brand, it's clear integrity needs to be one of the things that in our external communications and the way we brand ourselves to others, that integrity is what they understand when they see us and see our work. And so I have a couple discussion points for the commission today. And the first one is really kind of honing down on who our customer is. It's kind of always interesting as a government entity to think about a quote unquote customer, right? Coming from child welfare, nobody wants a child welfare worker to show up at their house, right? They don't call and ask for involvement of government intervention. No one calls and says, hey, please come investigate me for ethics violations. They do call for training and they call for advisory opinions. And so, but there was kind of a split. There were folks that had a broader view of what our target customer was, which is the general public, the citizens of Nevada, and then some that really focused on those officers and employees. And so I would toss that out there for a discussion because that could impact what we think about when we talk about our brand and our image and who are we wanting to be, like who is the main focus of our work and our efforts.
Right. Fellow commissioners, we all filled out these surveys. So, if you have comments on who you think our customer is and what are your reasons, because like you said, it's kind of divided. Some think it's the whole state of Nevada, all the citizens. Some think it's the public employees. Some think it's just the citizens. So I'm going to throw it out there. This is just an open discussion, a dialogue, a brainstorming. So I'll open it up to our commissioners on Zoom at this point in time. Commissioner Taller, please proceed.
I was just taking myself off mute, but I think all the citizens of the state of Nevada would be the customers, and whether you have a violation or a complaint against you, you're still a citizen and you deserve to be treated fairly under the rules and ethics laws. And overall, though, I think it's the idea that we live in a state where ethics matter and we take it very seriously. So I look at the whole encompassing group of citizens.
Thank you. Commissioner Lowry, I saw you unmuting too.
I would consider that we have both, and that there is some separation, that our customer is the citizens of Nevada, but our customers are also public employees and elected officials. And when Executive Director Ross referred to pillars, I got the visual of literally kind of the pillars, the Roman kind of pillars, and above the pillar in a triangle, we function as a matter of law. We are operating under the rule of law, and so the NRS tells us who our customers are vis-a-vis who we respond to, who we provide services to. So at the top is basically the rule of law, and then the pillars supporting it are those citizens of our state, elected officials, and public servants.
Thank you. Commissioner Oscarson.
Yes, Madam Chair. I think this this project is truly beneficial to us in many different ways. And the most poignant to me is in talking to friends from other states, some of the surrounding states and around the country, invariably it comes up, the ethics issues, and that's kind of a thing that happens sometimes when I'm with other folks. And to date, I've not heard from any of my friends that there's a responsive and an active ethics group in any of their states as there is in the state of Nevada. And I think we need to somehow, and I don't quite know how to do it, but we need to make sure we, I don't know if there's rankings. I know there's some things that we've had the opportunity to participate in as far as, awards and those kind of things we've gotten. But I think we need to make sure that people are aware that we're a very active, focused group on making sure that the integrity of the process that we work so diligently for, and many of us in our private lives work diligently for too, is communicated to these people through our brand.
Thank you. Vice Chair Dufferin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In going through this process, I think this is an important moment in our history to have this discussion, because even though we're just talking about a logo, it's really talking about who we are and what we do. And it kind of goes to our mission and our guiding principles, which I always harp on. But the question that was posed by the executive director was our customer. So who is our customer? And when I think of the word customer, I think of sometimes, maybe we're selling something, but we're not really selling anything. We're serving people. We're not selling items. So in that thought process, who do we serve? So in our guiding principles, we mentioned our stakeholders. Who are our stakeholders? Well, it says in guiding principle number 3, and it's in reference to training and outreach. Our stakeholders are the public and public officers and employees. As Commissioner Lowry stated, it's kind of everybody, and Commissioner Taller mentioned the public as well. And I think I agree with both of them. It's really all encompassing. We represent and we serve all of those people. That's a big population, but so what do we serve them with? We serve them with our services. Our services are, as Commissioner Lowry stated, are in the statutes. That's what we do for the public and our public officers. So honing that down and trying to get down to, how does that reference a logo? Well, the logo should somehow represent the things that we just discussed. In our survey, there's many things, those bullet points that came out, those are important. But it really is just an image. Our logo is our image. And when people see that, it's gonna connotate some kind of image or emotion. And so that's why this is important. And the emotions that were carried out in the survey are somewhat clear. They came to the top. Those emotions or feelings are trust, integrity, and those are very important. So as we go forward, we need to think about all those things and try to develop some kind of a logo that's not too complicated and too sophisticated, so we we lose what our message is. But at the same time, it's personal to us. It's personal to this organization. So when people see it, they recognize it and they know who we are. Thank you for that opportunity.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dufferin. I think my fellow commissioners have stated it very well. I too believe it's the general public and our public employees. And as Vice Chair Dufferin and Commissioner Towler and Commissioner Lowry have pointed out, it all ties into that guiding principle number 3. So I think we kind of know I think we've kind of decided who our customer is now with that. So I will have you go ahead and proceed to your next question that you have for us to talk about the mark.
Yeah, so again, this is Executive Director Armstrong. The next question is that when we talk about logos, there are different types. And so we sent some materials that talked about, letter marks and emblems and mascots and other items. And so what we'll want to do in this discussion, I think, is if you can provide me with direction on maybe 2 or 3 types that you prefer, or a ranking of types that you prefer, that will help us go out and acquire some logo designs. I included some examples in the packet, and I'll talk about just some of them. You can see the first one is the City of Oakland Public Ethics Commission. And what's interesting to note here is that the City of Oakland uses a logo system. And so all of their government agencies have that tree, but the sunshine behind it is unique to the Ethics Commission, right? And so their different agencies play off that tree somehow. We don't have that in the state of Nevada. So we don't have any dictate from above that all agencies have to have, an org cart or something. And so we have to use that. And so we have a lot of play with that, but that's just a approach that some governments take. The second one there, right, there's no words at all. I just happen to know that that's Honolulu because I see that on their Twitter all the time, but that's their ethics logo. It doesn't look like it has anything to do with their city logo. Like I checked to see if this was, they just took part of their city logo. No, it's just their own logo. The Department of Agriculture, I recognize the most, probably because it's at every gas station sticker, right? Like, oh yeah, that's the Department of Agriculture. You can see they've used some Nevada, icons with mountains and sunshine. The New York City Conflict of Interest Board, this is their image really for their training group, for their outreach group. New York City itself does something similar with Oakland, where every entity in their main logo has to have NYC in big letters, and then they have different colors. On the second page, you can see the Nevada Gaming Control Board is very badge enforcement type of logo. The New Mexico Ethics Commission just took the state seal and adjusted it a bit. And then there are a couple others there. You can see the IRS kind of has an abstract mark. They often have that with, IRS next to it when you get your fun IRS envelope or whatnot. So those are just some examples of what you see from different government entities. In the materials, it notes that you see the emblem logo a lot in government entities. It does have a certain formality to it that expresses, hey, we are indeed a government entity and not some private organization, with NASA being kind of a standout in their use of the letter mark for that particular one. But all of these are different types that are available to the commission to use. I would say probably not word mark, because Nevada Commission on Ethics is such a huge a huge one, but some sort of combination with ethics, with the word ethics, could certainly be used. So I'll just toss that out there for any thoughts and discussion. But what would be great is for me to get direction in terms of maybe the top 2 or 3 types of logos that we should pursue, so that I can go get some designs for you and bring them back before the commission.
All right, so we're going to do this again. We'll go to Zoom people, comments, and let's see, Commissioner Tyler was first last time. He's looking down. He's not unmuting yet. So I'm going to go to Commissioner Lowry. Thank you.
My comment's going to be completely unhelpful, to the extent that I'm going to say, I'll know it when I see it. Right, in terms of what the logo needs to look like. I looked at all of the ones that you brought for us for examples. Thank you very much. That's very helpful. And yet, as I sit here, I have some of my own ideas, like I mentioned earlier, about those 3 pillars of who we serve underneath the ethics law or commission. It kind of reminds me of the buildings in Washington, D.C., like around the U.S. Supreme Court and things like that. But beyond that, I'm sorry, I can't be very helpful.
Commissioner Lowry, actually, your comments are helpful, right? So, yeah, there's no wrong or right answer, but this is good feedback. So thank you. Commissioner Oscarson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am on the same track as my fellow commissioners. While I appreciate the fact, and I think it's always good to look at other agencies' logos, what they do and how they do it. I haven't been I'm not overwhelmed with anything that I've seen thus far, and that's why I'm glad Mr. Armstrong is working on this, because I'm sure he's going to come back to us with something that's just going to wow us, and we're going to say, taking all these comments into consideration to put something together. I just want to make sure it's something that represents the audience. I think that that's what's really important. That when we do a logo like this, like our Nevada State logo, it has all the different things in it, the seal. I think we need to consider that as something that's very, very important to what we do and unique to what we do, because we are unique. We're not just another commission, no disrespect to any of the other commissions, but we're very unique in what we do and how we do it. So I would ask that that's maybe a consideration as well.
Thank you. Commissioner Towler.
Yeah, I'm just looking over these. I agree with everything that's been said already. I don't think I have anything. Nothing's jumping out at me. It could be the more basic, like the New Mexico style, with as Commissioner Oscarson stated, more Nevada specific, but also some of maybe one of the more modern ones that Nevada entities have been using. I could go either way. I don't think it's a huge. It's not my area of expertise, but something that looks nice and is professional, and people can associate with the hard work that staff does.
Vice Chair Duffin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, going through this exercise again and looking at the different options, I kept coming back to the emblem. As a lot of you know, I used to work for the Gaming Control Board, and we actually created another logo. It's actually a patch that I can share with staff, and it has a lot of the things that I'm thinking we might want. And I liked Commissioner Oscarson's comment about the state seal. I think that would be something we might consider. As you can see on the gaming control board, they have the state seal actually as the middle part of their logo. And I was kind of playing around and did some of my own amateur logo building on some app that I downloaded for free at home, and kind of created something that I'll share with staff also. But I think once again, it has a lot of elements in there. It shows kind of just very simple, our name. There's no confusion about who we are or we're not who we are, but where we're from, Nevada. And we don't necessarily have to use the state seal, because I think there's some hurdles we would have to cross getting permission to do that, which actually I think is a good idea, because then we could get the governor's buy-in or whoever has to approve that. But we can also just use the picture of the state as part of our logo as well. But I was thinking, as I was listening to the various comments from the commissioners and the presentation about the words that came out, like the trust and integrity and the pillars. I mean, some of those things we could maybe actually use those things in our logo, and maybe actually put some of the words in our logo. So those are my comments. I know this is an important part, once again, of our history, and I think I appreciate all the effort that's being put into this. And I think that once we come to a final conclusion, there's other things that we can utilize with this logo. And I think it's just it's kind of, it excites me. It's kind of something fun that I really get into. I don't know, I'm kind of weird, but these things are fun for me, and I appreciate the effort and time put in by staff. So thank you for letting me have those comments.
Thank you, Vice Chair Dufferin. And I appreciate everyone's comments and stuff. Maybe we could put these on camera. They could see
Yeah,
them.
they're too raw. I'll give them to staff.
Okay, all right. They're kind of cute.
It's not what I had in mind, but that's okay.
Well, you said they were rustic, so they're cute right now. I just want to say, you asked, okay, do we like the abstract or the emblem or the combination mark, let's see, what was the other one? Pictorial marks or whatever, or word marks, or letter marks. When I go through and I look at this, I kind of are leaning towards the abstract or the emblem for us. That's where I'm kind of leaning. I think that, like it said in the article that you sent to us, that emblem is something that, public agencies use a lot. So that kind of makes sense. But then I kind of like the abstract because it can really better define us, okay, if we do it right. And in the material that you sent out, it says, if you do an abstract, you better make sure you use a professional, right? So we get the color and the design and stuff. Other comments that I want to say on our logo and stuff, based on the words that came back in the comments and our questionnaire and stuff, words that kept jumping out was trust, integrity, fairness, honesty. But I think trust seemed to be something that was very overarching, and that kind of fits into the public's trust in our commission to keep the trust in public government, in government and stuff. So I think our logo, to me, it should, and then we had the sunshine just to show, to create that image of trust, create that image of sunshine, integrity, fairness. I mean, that's what I'm kind of looking at, and I'm thinking, maybe a combination abstract emblem or abstract might be able to pull it together. Commissioner Lowry, when she was talking about the Roman columns, okay, I kind of thought about that might be something, that we can tie off of and stuff. But I think this has been a good exercise, and I think it's great that we're taking this on, because I think it's good to establish ourselves with an identity. We've really never had an identity, and I think that will go a long ways towards getting us out there and people knowing who we are, what we do, and the good that we're doing for Nevada. So, Executive Director Armstrong, please proceed.
So that is helpful. I heard, experiment with some emblems and some abstract marks, and then I think a combination mark makes sense too, just if we're going to round out the top three. So, and then I also took notes about, really focusing on trust and integrity pillars and kind of looking this morning, right? There are a lot of ethics commission that use scales of justice like that pillar justice feel is in a lot of different logos. And so for the next steps, what we'll do is we'll pursue acquiring 3 to 5, maybe more logos, so that, as Commissioner Lowry said, we'll know when we see it. Well, I don't know if we'll have them in time for the next meeting, or it might have to be the one after that, but to acquire a sample that we can then say, yes, we like that, but can we get it in a different color? Or no, those are all terrible, come back and bring more. But we have options for getting those developed and bringing them back. But the insight that was provided during that conversation about our customer, the feedback we've already received, and then kind of the preference for what type of logo, that will all be communicated to the folks who develop the logo. And so I think, by early next year, we should be on track to having something for the commission.
Okay. Other comments? Okay. But thank you, and thank you to my fellow commissioners for your input and feedback. We really appreciate it, because that's what we're here for. Ross doesn't need us if we don't give him feedback. So thank you so much. All right. Next item then. Oh, we need to vote. We need to vote here. I'll entertain a motion to have the executive director continue working on the branding project consistent with the commission's discussion today, and return it to a future meeting for either additional direction or approval.
Madam Chair, I'll make that motion exactly the way you read it.
All right. Is there a second?
I'll second, Madam Chair.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next item, item 9, commissioner comments. This time I will call the item and ask if there are any commissioners that have comments or want to identify a future agenda item this time.
Madam Chair, I only have one comment. I see one member of the public at our meeting, and I wanted to thank her for attending our meeting. Thank you. No other comments.
All right, thank you. I just want everyone to know our next meeting will be October 19th in Las Vegas. Correct? Right. And next item is public comment. So I will ask our executive director if there's any members of the public here who wish to comment.
We have one member here. She's not approaching to comment, and I will have to defer to Executive Assistant Pedroza on if we received any written public comments during the time, or if there's anybody who is on Zoom that wishes to provide public comment.
This is Executive Assistant Pedroza. We have not received any written public comment throughout the duration of our meeting, and we no longer have any public members in attendance via Zoom.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. They want to stay.
Okay, I'll make the motion to adjourn.
All right, is
Can I
there a
take my tie
second?
off now?
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All right, opposed, motion carries. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you in October. It'll be great to see everybody in person.
Thank you.